Welcome to the tutorial for the book tracker template. That is an absolute mouthful. I don't recommend saying that too many times fast. How you going, everyone? My name's Jay from jrendigital.com. Thank you very much for joining me in this tutorial. Now, before we dive into the really fun stuff, I'm going to go through a couple of housekeeping rules just to make sure that you get the most out of this particular sheet. First and foremost, if you're using Google Sheets and you'd like to update the time functionality and the dates, all that type of stuff, the way that they are presented, really straightforward. All you need to do is come over here to the File section, click on Settings, and you've got some details there that you can change to change the dates and times. However, if you're using the Excel version, the good thing is that that will go with your regional settings of your computer. So you don't actually need to adjust anything, that will automatically update for you. One other thing I'd like to point out is I'm filming this using the Google Sheets version. You might see some subtle differences between the Google Sheets version and the Excel version. I can assure you nothing mechanically is different. They are just subtle differences between the two softwares, such as the way that the icons are presented, things like that. Other than that, we have tested absolutely everything, so they work exactly the same. So if you're ever concerned that there might be differences, that is the only difference, is just the way that the softwares present certain pieces of information. All that being said, if you have any questions, concerns, anything you'd like to ask us whatsoever at any stage, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're always available to help you out. Please allow for time zones, things like that. Other than that, we're always here to help you with your sheet. Last but not least, if you happen to get any value out of this whatsoever, a review of your experience absolutely makes our day. It is exactly what keeps our tiny business afloat, and we really appreciate it more than I can possibly share with you on this recording. All that being said, let's dive into how you can get started with this sheet. So the very first tab here is the instructions sheet. If you scroll down, you're going to see instructions. If you need to reference anything in future, feel free to come back to this at any stage. Also have screenshots of things, so if you need to reference those, feel free to come through and check those out. Let's get started with the setup tab. Now, I know you probably want to dive into absolutely everything and get started, but before we do, the most important part about this is the setup tab. So right at the top there, you can actually set the currency. You can actually add any currency you choose. So this is designed to be used worldwide. So regardless of what part of the world you're in, you can actually use that, and that's going to automatically populate across all of the sheets. One thing I will say as well is the white cells are the ones that you can edit. The colored cells, please do not touch those. They have formulas and all sorts of things in there that if you do, it might break the functionality of the sheet. So if you see a white cell, it's usually something you can add data into. If you see a colored cell, please just don't change anything, it'll ruin the sheet. Anyways, let's get started with the genre tab here. I've added a couple there just to get you started. However, you can have up to 50 genres. Hopefully you're not going to run out at any time soon. The subgenres, once again, you can have as many as you like, up to 80. And then moving across to the format, you've got 10 different types of format. I actually kind of ran out of ideas, so I only got digital, physical, and audio. There might be more depending on how you actually consume books, and forgive my ignorance if there are many more ways of doing so, but you're welcome to add as many as you like. They're up to 10. And then we've got the priority. This is the ones where perhaps you really want to read something. It's an absolute must read in your library. Perhaps there's another category there where you might be a little bit interested. And then the last one there that we've added, at least in, is maybe. And of course, you can amend these, you can change them, you can add more if you like. And that just allows you to categorize what you're reading next, what your current library looks like, and anything else you want to keep track of as well. Last but not least, we've got the source. And as you'll see, Wishlist is grayed out, and I'll explain exactly what the wishlist does later on, but please do not amend that tab, that cell. The rest of them, by all means, feel free to amend them as you see fit. That will automatically populate across the rest of the sheet. One little tiny thing I will say is if you happen to make an amendment or you add anything in here, so let's just make something up. So GGGG. I don't know why I'm doing that, but there you go. Let's assume that that is a new genre. It's just come out and no one's heard of it apart from myself and now you beautiful people watching this video. If I happen to come back and I decide, actually, I'm going to make an amendment to that, I didn't mean GGG at all, I meant BBBBB. What's going to happen is that is going to cause errors within the sheet. So what I would suggest that you do is make sure that you are very sure about what you want to put in these before you enter all your data. Otherwise, it could cause errors across the rest of the sheet. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, guys, let's get stuck into the book log tab. All right, welcome to the book log tab. This is the heart and soul of this entire sheet, and whilst it might look like a massive chunk of data, it is what powers the rest of the sheet, and I'm going to go through and explain exactly what it means and exactly how you can use it to start logging everything that you read. So really straightforward. Across the top there, you've got the book log, you've got the current amount of books that you've got in your library, the ones that you have actually consumed to date and the ones that you are currently reading. And if we go down to the first, let's just choose a random one here. Let's just say World War Z. No, we want to do something different. What's different? What's one that I've read recently? I'm just going to highlight that so it makes sense. I'm going to scroll up to the top a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm on about there. Now, these are all hypothetical reads, by the way, so please don't critique me in the comments if I've made errors in terms of the genre and subgenre, all that type of stuff. This was for illustration purposes only. Hopefully everyone understands that. Having said that, I have actually read this book. It's a great one. Highly recommend it as well if you're interested in that type of thing. However, across the top, book title. Number one, the cover. I will show you a really simple way that you can add covers in a matter of seconds, really straightforward. I would also encourage you to ensure that you do have the covers in there, just because it helps with the visual nature of this spreadsheet as we go through the different tabs as well. The author, clearly that makes sense. Now again, going back to my comment earlier, you can't actually edit any of these, so you don't actually have to put any input, but explaining what they mean. You've got the progress. This will show whether it's something that's yet to be read. If you're all the way through it, you finished it, obviously it's 100%, or perhaps you're halfway through, in which case it'll show the percentage that you've actually consumed of that book. This will also show the status, so whether you completed it, whether it's yet to read, or perhaps you're currently reading as well as the other one. And over here, we've got the pages. Now, the cool thing about this is if you add in a physical book and you happen to add the number of pages, it will automatically create this blue icon here, which basically blanks out the fact that this is for Audible books, okay? So this is physical on the left-hand side, this is Audible. And so conversely, if you are consuming an Audible book, which this one is, saying there's a total of 5 hours and 33 minutes there, and hours listened 5 hours and 33, which automatically blanks that side of things out as well. The genre of this is self-help. Elected not to put anything in for the subgenre. Of course you can, you're welcome to. The format, like I say, this one's Audible. However, it could be digital, ebooks, Kindles, things like that, or physical. You can also put in whether you see it as a priority. For this one, I've just put that it is, actually, am I on the right book? Yes, I am. Phew. Okay, it's a must read. Phew, gosh, it could have been awkward. Is it owned? I've owned it and I purchased it. Now, this little thing here, if it happens to be one of your favorites, you can happen to tick that little checkbox there, and I will reveal all later on, so don't fret if this is not making sense just yet, but if it happens to be one of your favorites just at the moment, feel free to tick that or untick it at any stage. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to that. This one, just for illustration purposes, I have ticked as being one of the faves. And if we move across here, we've got the ratings. So you can have either 1 star, 5 star, 4 star, etc., up to 5 star. And clearly I'm not much of a book critic. I tend to like most of them. I have a positive outlook on things, so there you go. And I've lost my place, I think it's that one there. Right, so start date, really simple. When did you start it? And again, these are all illustrative purposes. I don't actually recall when I consumed this book, and I think I've got the hardcover lying around somewhere. But anyway, for argument's sake, January 15th, 2025. And when did I finish it? It took me a long time. Look, I prioritized other things at that time in my life, and didn't finish it until the following year, 29th of January, 2026, which is this year. It was a rough year in 2025, lots happened. And that was a total duration of 379 days, which will automatically calculate if you want to keep track of those types of things as well. There's a return date. So for argument's sake, if you happen to have borrowed it or you've taken it out of a library or whatever, then that will basically give you the return date, so you know when to return that. That will also populate into the calendar, which I'll explain later on as well. And just when did we highlight this one? Was it there? I think that's right. Hopefully I'm right there. Now, the cost. Again, if we... Man, I'm so bad at clicking things today. Where are we? There we go. Okay, phew. Apologies, folks. Anyways, the cost. So for argument's sake, we may have purchased this, and let's assume that it's a hardcover and we might have purchased it brand new, we might have sold it secondhand, or conversely, we go to a garage sale, we find a really great book there, it's $1, and we end up selling it online later on, and it's, we sell it for $10 or whatever it is. So this shows at the top there the total cost of our books that were purchased, and the ones that we choose to sell, should you choose to sell them, of course that will show that there. So you can have a look at basically any kind of profit and loss when it comes to the sale of your books overall. The publish date, again, this is all optional, so you don't have to put that in, and some brief notes there as well. Now I'm going to explain a couple of things when it comes to the brief notes. These are obviously just a couple of lines regarding the actual book, what you felt about it, what you're looking forward to reading, things like that. However, you might see that there's a couple of links there, and I'm going to explain exactly what they mean, but basically this is going to automatically populate into your wish list later on, meaning that when it's time to purchase those particular books, you've already got the links there. You can just click on those to make that purchase nice and easy, and then it's going to be added to your library automatically. I'll show you the cool process that we've got for that. So let's go and add a new book, and I'll explain exactly how to do that as we go along. So if we want to start adding new books in after we've read them, or as we're going through them, or perhaps they are something that we would like to read in the not too distant future, we can start to add them here as well. So one of the books that I read recently, it was called Notes from a Small Island. It's a pretty cool book. Now, with the cover, as I mentioned, it is something that I would encourage you to basically add the cover there. And if you're worried, like how do I find the images, all that type of stuff, I'm going to show you a nifty little hack that will allow you to pick up the image in a couple of seconds and add that in there really, really straightforward. So what I'm going to do is pause, and I'm going to get up the Google, and I'll show you guys how to do a quick search for that. So in a blank Google search, I've just done a quick search for the actual title, Notes from a Small Island, and I've just clicked on the images here. Now, this happens to be the exact one that I've got here, which was very convenient. And so if you click on that, and it's from Wikipedia, so it should be pretty legit in terms of the link, all that type of stuff. And all we need to do is right click on this thing here, copy image address down the bottom there, copy image address, there we go. Now, if we go back to our sheet, so back on our sheet there, we're wanting to add in the cover, really, really basic. We've highlighted the cell, and I just need to make that apparent. And this is actually the exact same process for Excel as well, by the way. We want to click on Insert, and then scroll down to Image. We're going to insert the image in the cell. Now, you don't need to worry about formatting, resizing, anything like that. It will do it automatically, which is really cool. I'm going to hit Insert Image into Cell. And there's a couple of things. So whether you choose to have a backup and you save it on your computer, that's up to you. I personally am rather lazy, so all I would do is click on the link thing over here. I would paste the link we just timed. So all we need to do is click on Insert Image over here, and that will automatically populate there. Like I say, you don't need to crop anything, it just does it automatically, so nice and easy. And that's going to filter through to all the other tabs, which I'll explain in a moment as well. Now, this is from a gentleman by the name of Bill Bryson. Don't know why I said his name like that. Perhaps because I just read the book and he was traveling through the UK, and so therefore I'm practicing my accent. Anyway, it's been a long day. Right, so as per before, please do not try to edit all this. It'll cause calamity, and we do not want that. Now, I happen to have done my homework before I recorded this, and I recalled that this book was 352 pages. So if you recall my comments before, where if you put data here, it will automatically blank this out. Theoretically, as long as I've done my homework well, this should automatically blank that out. Phew. Now, I actually have read the entire book. It was a great read, by the way. I highly recommend it. And as you'll see, if I add the total pages that I've read, it will automatically state it's completed and 100% progress plus the percentage there as well. Now, let's say I was only on to 180th page. That will obviously just change those, and if I'm on the 30th page, so on and so forth, it'll just change the percentages there, all that type of stuff. So I'm just going to delete that for the time being, and I'm going to keep moving. So this was technically it's a non-fiction, and where were we? It's a comedy down there, and this is a physical copy. My dear old dad lent me that, or well, I guess it's on permanent load, and I think it's a bit of a must-read for me. I really do like it. And this one, technically, I'm going to say it's a borrowed. And I mean, it's from my father, so it's a friend of mine, I guess. Now, if you recall, I said if you wanted to add something to your faves, and I'm not going to reveal everything just yet, but if you click on this, it's going to do something magical in the back end, and my secrets shall forever be secrets. I don't try and pry that out of me, but I will explain why this is really cool later on, but you've got the my favorites thing. So one of my favorites, personally, I'd highly recommend you start to collect some of those, and then that will just filter through to the other tabs, which I'll explain in a moment as well. And I don't actually recall, it was probably late last year. I'm going to say, let's say it's October. Now, for the sake of this particular tutorial, and for my friends in the countries other than the United States, you might get a bit confused by the dates formats here. Again, feel free to change those. Should you need to, just hit that and change those. It'll be adjusted to your local time zone. So the date format, if I put in, let's say I started reading this on the 1st of January, and I just, January the 15th in 2025, they'll automatically populate there. And let's assume that I finish this up in, let's say, March, so March 15th, 2025, which is kind of roughly where it's sat, I think, something like that. Anyway, it gives me a total of 59 days. Look, I'm a bit of a slow reader, so hopefully you'll forgive me there. Moving on, return date. Again, if I've borrowed it, maybe I need to return it by a certain time. By the way, this will automatically go through to the calendar, which I'll explain later on. This is more of a permanent loan. I don't think I actually need to give it back to my dad in this instance. But if you do, of course, you can put that there. Now, there was no cost to me, so I don't need to put that there. I'm not intending on selling it at any time soon. It's going to sit in my library and I'll pick it up. Publish date. Now, I can put a publish date should I choose to. This was actually done in 1996, would you believe? So I don't actually have a specific date per se, but no, I'm not going to add that in there. Again, this is all optional. Now, something cool that I really like here, and I mentioned it before, is that you can put links. And so let's assume that I've done my homework and it's, I'm going to go to Amazon.com and that becomes a link. So instead of me adding a note saying it's a witty tale about a gentleman who is from America and goes to the UK. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but he goes to the UK and he walks around it, basically. It's incredible. It's just witty the way that he's written it, in my opinion. Anyway, and it is my opinion, that's all. Right, so let's assume that I hadn't read it. And instead, I just put a little link there. What this is going to do is automatically populate into my wish list. What it means is that when I go to my wish list, it's going to automatically put that link there, and when I'm ready to buy it, all I need to do is click on that link. I can then purchase it, and then it will automatically populate within my library moving forward. Thank you for joining me. Let's jump into the dashboard. All right, welcome to the dashboard. Looking pretty sharp, if I do say so myself. Now, a couple of things. You don't really need to do too much on this particular tab. It's really just to get a visual of a few different things, some stats. These are live updates, so whatever you're adding in the book log, this is going to automatically transfer over to this as well. And across the top there, you've got your favorite books at the moment that you're wanting to read, ones that you're currently reading as well. And then you've got things like the total books in your library, the total books you've read, the ones that are yet to be read, the current ones that you're reading now, total cost, hours, pages read, hours listened, all that type of stuff as well. And then you've got a couple of little things there. So you've got the top genre, the top author, top format, and then the longest book out of your collection as well. Just a fun little stat to keep track of as well. Over on the right-hand side, you've got the yearly reading summary. So you can just change those between the months and years, all that type of stuff. And it's going to give you a populated graph once you start filling these in terms of your reading habits, things like that. You've also got the genre there. So what's your favorite genre? How is that manifesting? Things like that. The status, whether you're read it, to read it, currently reading, all that type of stuff. And then the format down the bottom there as well. So physical, digital, and audio. Of course, those are the standard three I put in, but you're welcome to adjust those if you have more types of books that you read. So my favorite books. At the top there, we've got non-fiction. Now, if you recall, I ticked that little fun box over here that said my fave. And if I just get rid of that, that should, in theory, remove that, right? So that's pretty cool. Just go back, don't want to ruin anything, so tick that, and that will automatically show up there as well. So you can have it for a bunch of different genres. So if we just say romance, for argument's sake, got those there, your favorite books in the romance section as well. Now this also shows up in other places as well, so I'll show you how to access that information. And then one of the issues that I know for myself, sometimes I get a little bit lost. Like there's a bunch of books that I really want to read, but I'm also in a different mood. I might decide actually I want something that's a thriller, or maybe I want some non-fiction, maybe I want some romance, etc. So this allows you to basically navigate between the different genres, and then you've obviously got the formats there. I might decide actually I want to listen to a podcast while I'm commuting to work or whatever it is, right? And it's going to show up there. And then also the ones that I have as priority. So I might say these are my must reads, and so I'll put those there, so on and so forth. So you got 10 available there, nice and easy. Anyway, so that's the dashboard, one of my favorite tabs. Hopefully this is all making sense. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, welcome to the cover gallery. So this one is one where you don't necessarily need to put in a whole bunch of data as well. As I mentioned, the book log is the command center for the rest of the entire sheet. So with this one, all we need to do is either select the current books, or if you want to type those in, you can as well. So if we say The Godfather, then that's going to pop up. Or what was the one I did before? Tales. Was it Tales? No, Notes. My bad. Notes from a Small Island, and theoretically no progress at all. We got those there as well. Where did we have? The Giver, I think, was the one. But that'll also show a couple of things, so just put Giver back there so you can kind of see where we're at. But the progress, 44%. Author, fiction, genre, subgenre, format. And again, these are all optional. You don't have to put in this data. Just a lot of people prefer to have it that way, and that's all. And so you've got the current page, and this one is actually a Audible version, so hence why you're seeing either pages or hours there as well. Then the cost, plus some brief notes. Now, if you recall, like I mentioned, you can have the ones that are going to go onto your wish list. You might want to put a link to buy them straight away. Otherwise, you can put some notes there regarding the book and what your thoughts were about it. You can also scroll and filter books by a number of things. So for this one, I've just defaulted to fiction, but of course you can have, say romance, for example. You can have whatever you choose there, anything that you've put under the genre. Also the status, really simple, whether they are yet to read, ones that you've completed, or of course the ones that you're currently reading. Let's go back there, the to read ones, and format, digital, physical, audio. Priority, so whether you have them as must reads or not, whether they're just something you're interested in, so on and so forth. And for this one, you've actually got 500 rows, so hopefully you won't run out of books anytime soon. Also got the source, whether they're from your wish list, purchase, own, gifted, etc. Rating, so you can scroll and create filters for all of these things along the way. And as you can see there, it's pretty comprehensive in terms of the amount of books. There's quite a lot there. So that is the gallery. All right, moving along to the bookshelves here. Now, I just asked you to ignore this top section for the time being, and I'm going to explain why in a moment. But if we start with the rating shelf here, this is how you can filter through all the different books that you've got in your bookshelf. So hopefully this is pretty self-explanatory. At the top there, we've got the rating shelf, which was, do you suggest to ignore? They've got none. Like I say, I'm a pretty positive person, so I kind of rate everything highly. Don't have much of a critical bone in my body, actually. The genre shelf. So we've got fiction, all the different things that you've added there as part of the genre. I'll come back to that in a moment. It's kind of another couple of features that we've got regarding that. We've got the format, so whether it's physical, digital, or audio, and of course the year that you started reading. Now, all this is going to be automatically populated from the book log, so don't stress about, do I have to change these or have to edit any of these? No, you don't. This is all basically pulled from the book log tab, and that will show all the books within your bookshelf as well. Now, going back up to the top, I said I wouldn't leave you hanging. What have we got here? My favorite books. Oh, I love this one. There we go. Look at that. Now, of course, I don't have the volume to have infinite favorite books, but this will show you basically the favorite books with a 5-star rating, favorite books from a fiction genre, favorite books from a physical perspective, favorite books from the year 2025, so on and so forth, right? Or again, you can change those, right? So that allows you to filter those. Of course, you can go by status, right? Are these completed? And also gives the totals across the top there as well. So on and so forth. The source, whether they've been gifted or purchased, all that type of stuff as well. Now, another thing I wanted to show you on this particular tab, if we scroll down, thought it might be useful. Could be wrong, but I thought it might be kind of useful to have additional genres, because I know for myself, I might want to read a fiction book one day, and then I happen to perhaps look at romance. Actually, who put that there? Definitely not me. But I'm just saying, right, maybe I do. Maybe I want to look at the genre at some stage, at being romance. And then the next one, historical. Maybe I'm looking at those. What have we got available there? What about the self-help, so on and so forth? So it just gives you an extra filtration process to basically see what else you've got from a genre perspective and how that breaks down. And the reason for this, we wanted to make it similar to when you go to your favorite bookstore and it's laden with beautiful books and you're strolling through and you're looking at all the books on the shelves, and of course they're divided by fiction and romance and historical and all that type of stuff as well. So hopefully you guys love that feature just as much as we enjoy creating it for you. All right, see you guys on the wish list. Cool, welcome to the wish list. So really straightforward, nothing to click or do or anything on this particular page, only to input data. In fact, I think we've locked the sheet so you can't. There's actually one thing you can click on, which I'll get to in a moment. But books wish list at the top. We've got 20 books on our wish list. These are things that we would love to have as gifts or to purchase them ourselves, or things that we would like to read eventually at some stage. The total cost, should we have that information available. Now, if you recall, the one that we put down the bottom, which was, oh no, did I untick it? Oh, I must have unticked it. All right, let me go back and tick the thing, make sure that I have that showing up there. Aha, there we go. So, little error, forgot to tick something on my end. If you recall, we added this one here, Notes from a Small Island, this one from Bill Bryson. Now, I have actually read that, so I'm cheating a little bit just for the sake of illustration purposes here. However, you'll see that it has the book title, cover, author, etc., the genre, subgenre, format, the price, which it was a borrowed one, so it wasn't really relevant in this regard. I think it's a bit of a must-read. Published date was actually 1996 for this particular version I've got. And if you recall, I mentioned that you can actually put your links there. So if we happen to put a link to the actual book itself and we click through, that's going to take us directly to that particular book. And of course, you've got all the books in the gallery there that you can have a look at as well from a visual reference. So it gives you a bit of an idea. These are the ones that are on your wish list, things that you would like to read at some stage. And hopefully that all makes sense. I'll see you guys in the reading tab. All right, welcome to the Reading Habit tab. Now, I'm going to explain exactly what this means, how you can use it to keep track of your reading habits and make the most out of this sheet as you go through with inputting your books and all that type of stuff as well. Now, similar to the other sheets, there's actually not that much that you need to input into this. Really straightforward. You've got the goal per day. So for argument's sake, you might have a goal of, let's say, 25 pages, but you can also have 25 minutes. You might decide I'm going to basically go by time instead, because I know for myself, I do love reading, but I'm a really slow reader. So if I sit down, sometimes I get so lost in the story that I might have a goal of X number of pages, but I'm not that quick when it comes to reading it. So therefore I just enjoy the time that I spend reading instead. So that might be yourself. And also this is applicable for the Audible books that you're reading as well, or listening to, I should say. You've also got the books read over here. You've got the progress for your actual goal itself. And you've got the goal duration here. So 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, 365 days. Hopefully that's enough to keep you going for a little while. And the start date over here, you can actually change this. So I've just kind of started from 1st of January. You can choose whatever date you like. And just starting from the top there, you've got the actual day itself. Hopefully this is relatively straightforward. You've got January there. So January, which was the 1st. Date, and the day being was that Thursday, and it's also showing whether or not you have achieved that particular goal on that particular day. And so this one, of course, we've fallen short. It's only 76%, so on and so forth. And so therefore the way that you would input the data, really straightforward. If we go to this one and say, actually, I just remembered that on the 3rd of January I actually read like 30 pages. That's crazy. that's going to automatically update. Now, what you'll see is when I made that change there, it automatically changed to blue. And so I guess your goal would be to have them all showing up as blue, because once you hit over 90%, the blue icons for the date and the day are automatically going to show up across the particular calendar here. So then underneath that, you've got the goal. So that's the goal which is derived from whatever you've put in here. So if we say 20, it's going to change dramatically. So I could effectively assume that I have actually achieved my goal by lowering the standards for which I was trying for argument's sake. Not that I suggest anyone cheats, of course, but there you go, just giving you an illustration. So that gives us a total over the 365 days of 9,125 pages. And the actual that we've done. So therefore, if we know that we're reading, okay, 25, 26, 25, etc., then by the end of that time, we will match the goal that we've set. And of course, you've got the yearly summary underneath that as well. So hopefully all that makes sense. Last but not least, we have the calendar. This is really straightforward. You don't actually need to put in too much in the way of data other than selecting the specific date. So of course, you can scroll through or type in whatever date you choose. I'll just put the 1st of March for argument's sake on this one. It's going to show you the books to be returned. So if you've borrowed books either from friends or the library, it's going to show you the date that you need to return those, so you can correlate that with your own calendars, things like that. You can also have the release date if there's a new book coming out. These are all hypotheticals, by the way, so please don't flame me in the comments if I've made up a launch date of a new book. And then some notes. You can put in a couple of things. New Hunger Games book is out on the 2nd, and that's going to obviously show when that particular book comes out. And again, all this is derived from the book log, as we mentioned earlier. Don't forget to return the Underground Railroad on whatever date as well, right? So that's going to show up wherever it is. Not that I can see it at first glance. Oh gosh, there you go. It's been a long day. Educated out on the 13th, so there we go. That's one that we do have. So Educator's coming out. So we know that that's the thing. And if you are looking at doing the reading habit, which again, this is completely optional, but if you were, then it's going to automatically give you a big tick every day that you actually adhere to that particular habit. So that is it. That is the calendar, and that is the book tracker template. Hopefully you guys get a ton of value out of using this. I know we really enjoyed creating it. Once again, if you do get stuck with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out at any stage. We're always here to help you out with this or any other templates. And of course, if you do get value, like I say, I'd love a review. It really just means the absolute world to both Ren and I, and means more to our small business than I can possibly comment on in this video. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. My name's Jay from JRN Digital. I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.